Good morning to one and all. In the last class, we were discussed about the industrial relations, it means the basics of industrial relations and the concept and the scope, objectives, and also the strategies of industrial relations and values of industrial relations. We were discussed in the last class. The values are fairness and equity, power and authority, individualism and collectivism, rights and responsibility, integrity, trust and transparency. I was told you the transparency means without hide and seek of any information or anything else. Whether they take an example for this, whether we are standing in front of the mirror, whatever we have an image, the same image will shown on the mirror. That is transparency. Like this. Next, come to the point of next one, the functional approaches of industrial relations. In the last class, I was given some inputs related to this. Dunlop approach was designed to broaden the industrial relations. That is horizon from the collective bargaining to the full spectrum of present day industrial relations. Whatever the requirement of a current approaches, based on that, they were what to prepare Dunlop approach. His analysis of industrial relations system could be viewed as a radical departure from previous approaches. That is a major thing from the Dunlop approach. It is the most basic terms. The Dunlop systems theory is in industrial relations is about the structure and development of relationship. Structure means whatever the work should be assigned to each and every people, what they are completed, how they are completed in structurally, that is also applicable to the industrial relations, and development, how it should be developed among the three integral members of the labor relations, and that means labor, management, and government. Without labor, the industry cannot run, and also the management, that is most important because of a supervision is the most important. A government, it should be needed what controlling of each and everything. That is the most important thing. And about the resolving labor management problems, as we know about this, whether the relationship between the management and as well as the laborers, that will take in a small disputes between them, whether it's in related to salary or any bonus or any other facilities is provided by the employer to the employee. In that circumstances, the problems will arise based on the agreement. Whatever the agreement is based, the common set of facts that affect or are affected by the labor management and as well as the government. The government, whatever the rules and regulations are to be framed, not only in the favor of the what employee, not only in the favor of the employers. In that circumstances, the Dunlop approach is taken place. That indicates that here. Second one is that indicates the Dunlop approach. That is, in the last class, I was told you the industrial relation system and as well as the contextual factors is taken a place. In the industrial relationship system, that is ideology, actors, and as well as the rules. Rules means, as we know about that, that is a conditions. And another thing is technical factors. In the each and every movements, we know that technical problem is the most important thing. This is also the factor is taken a place of the industrial relationships and market factors. This is also whether it's related to buying and selling of a products and each and everything. Then contextual factors, locus and distribution of the power in the wider society. That is the most important thing. Then the second approach is Oxford approach. The Oxford approach has had a great deal on influence of the industrial relations thinking in a United Kingdom and has even been a theoretical base of the inquiry. And the recommendation of the Donovan Commission in the year of 1965 to 68. According to it, industrial relation system is a study of institutions of job regulations and stress on this substantive and procedural rules as in Dunlop model. The stress is the most important thing in the each and every organizations or industries that can be controlled, that can be relieved. based on this availability of the solutions in the premises. In this, the Dunlop Oxford approach is taken a place of the components is the social system of a production and its distribution, which has a structural pattern of a relationship. Then the Oxford approach can be expressed in the form of an equation. That equation is like the Oxford approach can be expressed in the form of an equation that is R is equal to F into B or R into F into C, where R is equal to the rules governing in industrial relations related to maintaining of a cordial relationship between the employee and employer, employee and labor, employer and workman, and these between the employee and employee, these they were maintaining of a cordial relationship. For that purpose, they are preparing the governmental rules and regulations. That is also taken a place. R is equal to. Then B is a collective bargaining. Collective bargaining. Collective means what? A group of the people, entire the group of the people. It means the process in which working place through entire unions, two or more or three or more workers join together forming a union, that is treated as a trade unions or unions. Negotiate contracts. It means that there is a when they are made a contract between the employer and employee, in that circumstances they were taken negotiating. They are not a stick on the what carrot and stick policies. Their employers to determine their terms of employment. It means conditions. C is equal to conflict resolved through collective bargaining. Just I told you, between the employer and employee, they were taken a place of bargaining status. In that circumstances, they were taken a resolving the problem. And industrial sociology approach. Sociology approach. It's an there has been a growing acceptance of a rate determination approach. One industrial sociologist, G. Margarison, hold in the view of the core of industrial relation is the nature and the development of a conflict itself. Now, Margarison argued that the conflict is a basic concept, should form the basis of the study of industrial relations. Without a conflict, even though in our family itself the conflict will take place in, of course, we can expect it in the industries also. In that circumstances, industrial sociology approach is taken place. The author criticized the relevant of approach, the industrial relations, which was more concentrated with study on the resolution of industrial conflict rather than generation. The consequences of industrial disputes rather than their causes is the most important thing. What are the causes is taken a place for the industrial conflicts. That is also one of the important thing of this approach. Then third one means here. Next one is action theory approach. Action theory approach. What it means? The systems model. The action theory approach takes the collective regulations, not only isolated the framing of rules and the regulations of industrial labor as is a focal point. The actor operate within the framework which can be best, can be desirable, and coalition relationship. It means a cordial relationship between the employee and employer. Then Marxist approaches. The class conflicts analysis of industrial relations derives its impetus from Marxist social thinking of interpretation. In this method, a social inquiry into the power relationship of a society and a way of interpreting social reality. The application matrix theory relates to industrial relations derives indirectly from the later matrix scholar rather than directly from the works of a matrix Marx himself. According to him, the industrial relations are the essentially politicized and part of the class of struggle. That should be what need a solution in that circumstances. So Marxist approach is taken a place. According to Marxist, there is a in antagonism and hostility between the owner and capital and wage employees, between the controller and the controlled, between the manager and managed. This should be required. This is a Marxist approach. And unitary approach. What it means unitary? The name indicates that unit. There is a only one source of authority and authority management. They own and therefore the control. Whatever the management, they have to own their own, and also there should be control. For unitary employers are into the law unto themselves. Employers pursue themselves as a providers of a job, income, social security. They believe the conflict is unnecessary in this approach. Just imagine, the conflict is not necessary to what in the industry itself and also in our family. If the conflict is taken a place, there is no matter of a peace of mind in the working place. Uh, in that circumstances, the unitary approach is taken a place based on the assumption of the group of the people or single person. That should be required a structural and pluralistic approach. Pluralist approach, that is a major theory in the labor and management relationship, which means many powerful advocates, they have a what strongly those who have a knowledge related to rules and regulations framed by the government or in the society, they are known about this. The focus is on the resolution of a conflict. They were always focusing of a what resolution of a conflict rather than its generation. How it is generated, they were not concentrated, they were resolving of the conflicts. In other words, the pluralistic on the institutional of job regulations is taken a place under the pluralist approach. Then social action approach. What's the meaning of a social action approach? Social action approach of Weber has led considerable importance to the question of control in the context of increasing rationalization and bureaucratization. It's closely related to Weber's concerns related to control in the organization was his concern with the power of control and dispersal. Thus, the trade union in Weber's scheme thinks had both economic and major purpose as well as the goal of involvement in the political and power struggles. The social approach is concentrated today these struggles. And next thing is human relations approach. In the words of Keith Davis, defines the he is given a what approaches. Human relations are the integration of people into the work situations. They should be converting into a work situation and motives them to work together productively. In an each and every moment, they need a motivation that should be done by the what employer in the working place, and whether they are maintaining of a good cooperation or a cooperatively, the productivity is automatically taken a place, and economic and also the psychological and social satisfaction is the most important in the human relations approach. To get the people to produce, that is most important under this approach. To get the people to produce the what goods and the services, to cooperate to mutuality of interest, both not only single side or one person is concentrated the interest showing both the person to gain satisfaction from their relationship. The most first and foremost thing is satisfaction. Without the satisfaction, they can't maintaining of a good relationship. Then next approach is human resource management approach. The the name indicates that the human resource management has become increasingly used in literature of personal or industrial relations. The term has applied to the diverse range of management strategies and indeed sometimes used simply as a more modern, therefore more acceptable term, personal relationship management. Human resource organizations, human resource planning is taken a place. These are all the components: human resource systems, human resource development, human resource relationships, human resource utilization, human resource accounting (HRA), and human resource audit is also taken a place. Human resource audit, what it means? It means verification of a human resource in the working place is taken a place. This is a human resource management approach. Then partnership approach. Partnership, as we know about this, what's the meaning of partnership? Two or more people join together with the starting of a business, that is treated as a partnership approach. For labor and management cooperation to take a root and a collective bargaining to serve the means of cooperation. Collective bargaining is also taken in place in that circumstances. They need a what? Cooperation. It is an important to the management enterprises level, whether it's in a low top, middle, or lower level management. Labor and management would involve the among other things, that is sharing information from one person to another person, and also consulting with each other on the regular basis. They were not maintaining of a what communication gap that is not taken a place in the partnership approach. Brainstorming together, whatever the requirement of exchanging of information from one person to another person, that will take a place. Then collective bargaining for both management and labor to review and learn, put the positive learning into practice. There should be whether they have a negative thought, that should be converting into a positive thought, bridging the gap between the precept and as well as the practice. These are all the taken a place of the partnership approach. Then lastly, Gandhian approach. We are all already known person, that is Gandhiji, can be called as one of the greatest labor leaders of the modern India. He was taken so much of they were taken for so much of steps for the related to the labors for given a security and safety. His approach to labor problem was completely new, refreshingly human. He held defined views regarding the fixation and regulation of wages. As we know about this, in earlier days, there is no matter for fixing of wages. Whatever the employers is given a wages, that is was fixed by the only the employers, not by the consensus with the both the parties. From the employees, they were not taken any consensus. And organizational functions of trade unions in the earlier days, there is no matter of a smooth running of organizations and as well as the functions of the trade union. Whatever they are having rights and obligations, that cannot be taken a place. And necessity and desirability of a collective bargaining is taken a place of a Gandhian approach. It means isolatedly they can't taken a place in from the employee point of view. Employees make a what unions from the unions, they were bargaining of each and every moment from the employers. What they are bargaining, wages, bonus, or any other benefits is come from the employers. And use and abuse of strikes, and labor indiscipline, workers' participation of the management, conditions of work and living, duties of workers. Many of his ideas were implemented by the Ahmedabad Textiles Labor Association, a unique and successful experiment in a Gandhijian trade unionism. This is another approach of the Gandhiji. Then come to the point of industrial relations. Industrial relations, we are already known and discussed. The industrial relation is an art of living together for the purpose of the production. Whatever the company or organizations or industry is having its own objective, that should be reachable. Based on this, we know about this industrial relationship, means the relationship between the employee and employer, employer and workman, workman, and as well as the labor. Employee and employee, they were maintaining of a cordial relationship, that is treated as industrial relations. This is having its own characteristics. The characteristics are like this, that is parties in industrial relations activities. Two parties should be required, that is a management as well as a workers. Without the management and as well as the workers, there is no matter of the process of establishment of a relationship between them. The government agencies is taken a place between the two peoples for the making of rules and regulations for maintaining of good relations. And interactive process, the interactive relationships arise out of interactions between the different persons or parties, the supervisors, worker, trade unions, employer association, like these. Supervisors and industrial workers, they need a what interactive process. Supervisors and a group, it means the team members, and also the management and the trade unions, members, federations and work unions. Then next thing is two-way communication is also one of the characteristics of industrial relations. Communication, one-sided communication, that is not achieve the organizational goal. It means this is creating a what a gap, a communication gap that should be not that should be not taken a place in the case of industrial relations. That is required only the two-way communication process. One party gives a stimuli and other party responds to stimuli. So the transaction occurring through the such mechanism is either compulsorily or cross. And another thing is HRM practices is also a characteristic of industrial relations. HRM practices, it means here human resource planning system, identification and stimulating prospective employees, and designing the most suitable selection techniques to choose the right kind of the people and right time, and help to the organization get a committed and willing the workforce to want to grow and develop and achieve the organizational goal. That is the human resource management practices. Approaches to the industrial relations. Next one, approaches to the industrial relations. Various approaches contribute to shape industrial relations pattern in industrial organizations. These approaches include a sociological, psychological, socio-ethical, human relations, Gandhian system approach, and other approaches is taken place of the industrial relations. State intervention. State government is playing a very crucial role or a pivotal role in the influence of industrial relations situation through activities, facilitator, guide, and counselor of both the parties in an industry. And role of a trade union, that is also most important thing. Behavior manifestations of the workers are mostly governed by the trade union to which they belong. And trade union perceptions, attitude towards management influence workers to form their mindset, regulates, promotes interaction with the management. And organizational climate, congenial and conducive organizational climate provides workers feel homely, interact spontaneously, communicate a boss about their problem. Difficulties directly come close to him, exchange shared views and other respect of the work and change of a job design. And these are all the organizational climate. Dispute settlement process. Dispute settlement process is the most important thing. It is also one of the characteristics of industrial relations. It means, as we know about the settlement of industrial disputes through bilateral negotiation process, not only the unilateral negotiations. Here, the bilateral negotiations process is taken a place. They give much more emphasis on mutual talk. Sharing a responsibility, collaboration, and partnership dealing and mutual trust. These are all the dispute settlement process. Outcomes of industrial relations, that is most important. What's the outcome of the industrial relations that should be affected or reflected on the production, both in the quality and as well as the quantity, services, mandates lost, and wastages, as we know about this, whether they are maintaining of a good relationship, the outcomes will affected the turnover of rate, absenteeism rate, a number of bipartite negotiations, company image and growth, development, and many others. Then next thing is competency development. This is also most important. Without the competency, they can't maintain the good industrial good relationship. They have skill, knowledge, ability, and aptitude, and change their attitudes, perception to enable them in participation in the collective activities and also the collective bargaining and issues of industrial relations. You know that situation is greatly influenced the issues of economic, non-economic, government by service contract, and also the conditions of the employment. These are all the issues of industrial relations. These are all the characteristics of industrial relations. Then objectives of industrial relations. What are the objectives? In the words of Caricadle defines that industrial relations are having their own objectives, that is in the four kinds. That is number one, to improve the economic conditions of the workers. It means the per capita income is increased, the economic conditions is also increased. The establishment government control industries to regulate the production and industrial relations. Whatever the rules and regulations are to be framed by the government, through that regulations, they have what a production, they can increasing of a production and also the maintaining of a good relations to make the state as an employer to socialization and non-socialization, to create a proprietorship of the workers in industry in where they are working. In these ways, these are all the objectives of our industrial relations. Then importance. Why the industrial relations is important? We should know about this. Industry peace or a good industrial relations is essential for smooth conduct of industrial activities from the purchasing of a raw material till to producing or getting produced finished goods. In that steps, we need what good relationship. And here, some of the importance that is industrial conflict can be avoided through the industrial relations. It means when there are good industrial relation between the management and as well as the labor, dissatisfaction and a difference of opinion about the management in the kinds of workers and vice versa, that should be avoided. That can be avoided. According to survey conducted by the John Mulder, 25% of the managers' time is devoted to the resolving the conflict. Then second one, second important thing of industrial relation is production and productivity increases. Where there is a conflict, workers work for the sake of working. They don't bother about the results and vessels of inputs. As we know about this, they were showing in a what sad, whatever they are having a pressure, blood pressure that should be shown on the what putting a more wastages. So production and the productivity will be done on the lower side. When they are maintaining of a good relationship, the production and productivity is automatically increased. This is also one of the importance of the industrial relation. Workers' participation in the management is possible. What's the meaning of workers' participation in the management? Where there is a harmonious relationship, everyone has confidence in others. One believes the others. Without a believing of one person to another person, there is no matter of participation. When we come across a situation, people give a suggestion to improve performance of the organizations. Those who are called as a top management level, whatever they are taken decisions, that is not affected to the effectively to the industries. When they are taken a suggestion from the workers, it means given an opportunity into the participation in the management, for given a what opportunity for the expressing their own views and as well as the ideas for on the basis of innovative, that can be possible. When the workers are involved in a decision making, that is also most important thing. When the conflicts is avoided, when the questions of strikes, lockouts, which is injurious to health for the organization, does not arise. When they are given a what opportunity for the involving at the time of the decision taken by the top management or the employers, then to achieve the economic development. When there is a harmonious relationship, there is a cause for high productivity. When they have a good relationship between the employee and as well as the employers, they were getting a more productivity. It leads to the production of cost effective product. When the organization is able to produce a cost effective cost product, it can offer it a market in a reasonable price. When they are getting more production in the industries, they can fixing a reliable price or less cost for that product. They were occurring of a less cost. In that circumstances, they were fixing of a reasonable price. When the reasonable price of product is provided to the customers, it means ultimate customers they can purchasing of a more and more. Then next thing is the objectives of every nations are to be achieved economic development. That is most important thing. When the rapid economic development is possible, when there is a development in the industrial sector. Without the industrial sector development, there is no matter of economic development. That is also taken a place. And these are all the importance of industrial relations. Then industrial relations scenario in our country in India. It means here four convention we can classify in the evolution of industrial relations in the following stages. We have different stages in the industrial revolution in India, evolution of in India. That is primitive stage. In the first stage, in the earlier days, all the activities is performed by the family members under the supervision of elder person or head of the family. As we know about this Indo undivided family, in that family they were worked for full in the whatever the industries work. And also the one who called as a karta, he's taken a what head or a leader of that particular industries. As everything is direct during that period, the management was very easy. Now, then agrarian economy. During this stage, the ownership of the property was shifted from a group of group to individuals. You know that as we know about this divided by the every individual in that circumstances, the property owners become each and every individuals of the family. There was a huge gap between the haves and have-nots. Whatever they have and as well as they don't have, that is related creating of a what no, gap between them. Workers was treated as a slaves. Yes, as we know about this, in the olden days, the workers are treated as a commodity. Whenever they want to use it and use, and whenever they want to disposing this. That was taken in the olden days. There was no government intervention to regulate the industry or industrial relations in the olden days in an agrarian economy. Then Saffron down stage. In this stage, surfers were considered as less intellectual. They don't have a more knowledge. They are not having a what capacity to take a smart decisions. Ignorantly deployed and without personal ethics, there was no difference between the slaves, the slavers, and as well as the people. It means those who are working in the organizations. Then next stage is handicraft stage. Due to declining of a federal system, the development of the cities and trade commerce, craftsmanship developed. As we know about this craft, handicraft items is taken a place in the market. During this stage, some specialized craftsmen showmaking, pottery, and blacksmith, and starting producing their own houses, factories, and the help of the family members. Students who seeks to learn the art The master crafters used to keep apprentices when they are giving a free boarding and lodging with the students are expected to do the sort of work. This is the handicraft stage. They were enjoyed, they independent of in this the circumstances, and they were started the guiding the people related to quality and as well as the price, started providing a required facility to the workers. Then next stage is cotton industries stage. Here, the cotton industries were taken a place. During this stage, some masters, craftsmen, and capitalists started producing goods. One who is having a huge capital, they were started the industries under the shelter with the help of hired craftsmen. It means they were given an employment opportunity under this what a stage, which led to where the information of the factories. It means in this stage, the factories were taken a birth in the year of 1881. The intention to achieving the production in the large scale. After the factories system, the very become a very popular huge machines that replace the human hands, which is called a industrial revolution is taken a place. These are all the what scenario of industrial industries in India. You may expect the questions related to this given account of industrial relations scenario in India. Like this, you may expect the questions. And next, come to the point of evolution of industrial relations. Here, industrial relations, an overview of industrial relations in order to understand the issues and problems associated problems of industrial relations was literally non-existent as the owners were themselves. Producers and productions was carried out by the family members themselves. So just I told you, HEF with the technology advancement and the rise of our workers, people working at their homes and their own tools, machines declined, and factory system gradually started setting up. That is an taken a place of industrial revolution. Uh, an overview of industrial relations in India. This is having what is stages that is phases in our country related to factories. In the industry was literally non-existence as the owners just told you. And in these circumstances, in the year of ended of a First World War, the second phase comprises the period of thereafter till the attainment of the independence in the year of 1947. And the third phase represents the post-independence era. In that circumstance, the first phase is taken a place. During the first phase, British government in India was largely interested in enforcing of penalties for breach of contract, in regulating the conditions of work. It means they were putting a strict conditions for doing a work in factories, and with a view to minimizing the competitive advantages. They won't want to creating a what competition between the manufacturers, and also advantages of indigenous employees against the British employers. A series of legislation measures to adopting during this later half of the 19th century, which can be considered as the beginning of industrial relations in India. The close of First World War, a new twist of the labor policy, as it created a certain social, economical, political conditions which raised new hopes among the people of a new social order. And in these ways, the ILO was taken a place in the year of 1919, International Labour Organizations, for the purpose of the influence of the labor legislation, industrial relations policies in India. And in the year of 1920, Trade Union Congress is taken a place. All India Trade Union Congress was another significant event in the history of industrial relations in our country. This is the first phase is an overview of industrial relations, and the second phase The policy after the World War related to improving the working conditions and prevention of social security benefits. During this, during the 2 decades following the war, the number of laws were enacted and implemented of the above policy. The Trade Disputes Act of 1928 sought to provide a conciliation machinery. It means maintaining of a conciliation between the two parties is bring about the peaceful settlement of our industrial disputes. The Royal Labour Commission on Labour in the year of 1929 to 31 made a comprehensive survey of labor problems in India. Which one? The Royal Commission on Labour, for the purpose of the framing of rules and regulations for future. That was taken a place under the second phase, particularly with the working conditions in the context of health, related to health, what we were enjoying nowadays. It means they were for providing a first aid and as well as the till to what cleaning of a surface where we are working, and also safety and welfare. These are all recommended for reaching the consequences. The Second World War gave a new spirit in the labor field. In these ways, the second phase is also taken a place in the industrial relations in India. Then come to the point of industrial truce resolution in the year of 1962. Truce resolution. The second industrial truce resolution was passed on the November 3rd, 1962 at a joint meeting of the employers and as well as the worker representatives in the New Delhi. Here, in the central government, they were not preparing isolatedly with the help of only or in the favor of the employers. Both the parties, it means employers and as well as the worker representatives, are to be participated in the industrial truce resolution in the year of 1962. The no effort shall to spread the achieve the maximum production and management, and workers will strive the collaboration in possible ways. Wherever they need a collaboration, they should and promote the defense efforts of the country. Then, what are the resolution under the industrial tools resolution in the year of 1962? We should know about this. The para amount need to maximize the productions and laid the stress on the duty of the employers and workers to exercise restraint and forbearance, that no interruption of work should be allowed. There is no matter of any interruptions. That all disputes should be settled voluntarily arbitrations, especially those relating to dismissal, discharge, retrenchment of the workers that will not take place. The union should discourage absenteeism and negligence on the part of the workers, that is also, and the joint emergency production committee should be set up, that is also required, and the what urgency of the companies for the producing of goods and services. And these are all the Industrial Truth Resolution Act of 1962. Then factors, what are the factors should be influenced for the industrial relations? The factors of industrial relations. John T. Dunlap described industrial relations as a system which depends on the relationship between the three important factors. Who are these? The name of the workers and their organization, management and government. Workers, management, and the government, which establishes better rules and regulations, a relationship at the working place. In that circumstances, here they playing a major role for the determining of industrial relations. What are the factors? Number one, institutional factors. These factors include the government policy. Whatever the rules and regulations are to be framed by the government, whether it's a central government or a state government. Labor legislation related to labor matters, they were preparing of a separate rules and regulations. voluntary courts that is also required for the controlling of disputes. Collective agreements, it means consent of both the parties, and employee courts. As we know about this, in each and every moment, whatever the disputes are arise, if they are not settled within the organization or industries, they can enter into a court metal. Employers federation is also taken a place. Attitude of worker system for power, status, and other factors. These are all the institutional factors for influencing of industrial relations. Then economic factors. What's the meaning of economic? Economic means it's related to the finance, like capitalism, socialism, and mixed system, both capitalism and as well as socialism. The structure of labor force for force, demand for and supply of labor force and others. Then technological factors, mechanization. As we know about this, in an each and every moment, new technologies will take a place. Whether they take an example for the marketing, online marketing, which one is nowadays is familiar, that is online marketing in the field of marketing. In the olden days, that should be sold by that is having their own what distribution channels. Now the online is also included, and automation. As we know about this, in the olden days, manually handled by the machines. Now the automation is also taken a place. Rationalization and computerization. This is most important. In the olden days, in the banking sector, whatever they are maintaining of books of records, that should be written by the manually. Nowadays, that can be entered through the computers. And in the whether they take an example for the taluk office, in the olden days, the RTC was given in the handwritten. Nowadays, that is available in the printed format, which is determined by the industrial relations. And social and cultural factors, basically social understanding between the employee and as well as the employers, and the prevailing attitudes. As we know about this, each and every individuals they are having their own attitudes that is differ from one person to another, and social setups, values, beliefs, and traditions, jobs, training, performance appraisal, promotion, and demotion, seniority, and wages determine the state of relationship between the employer as well as the employee. Then the political factor, this is also playing a major role in what industrial relations. The political system, political parties, and their ideologies determine the industrial relations. Whatever they are having ideas for the settlement of disputes between these peoples, that can be the difference in the philosophies like communists and communist, socialist, capitalist, and mixed type of modules is taken a place. And governmental factors, government policies with regard to labor, industry, export, and rules and regulations, and the degree of government intervention in solving industrial disputes shape the relationship between the employee and as well as the employer. The governmental factor is also playing a major role, whether it's in related to the labor or industries or exporting of a goods and services, that is more requirement, and also the solving of a disputes between the what states or between the whether the exporting and importing is taken a place in out countries. In that circumstances, the rules and regulations is to be taken a place. Then come to the point of parties. Who are the parties of industrial relations? We should know about this. The parties of industrial relations. It means the major parties of industrial relations in general and as well as the industrial peace in particular. The government is the first party. Industrial relations are imperative to achieve economic development in a planned economy like ours. Economic growth, removal of a proper poverty of achievement, self-reliable are possible only there is a good relationship between the patterns of industries, namely workers and the owners, in order to maintain a good relationship. Government of India explicitly, empathetically, and repeatedly making attempts through its labor policies. This is the first party, and also the employer and their organizations. They are also the parties of industrial relations, employers and their organization. Industrial peace, this is a most important thing in the industries, to imperative from the point of view of the management also, because managers who are the owners of the representatives of all the resources started the organizations with the intention of making a handsome profit. It means smartly they want to do some profit. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂಗಡಿಲಿ ಇಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದರ್ಶನ್ ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ಇಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. If there are a frequent and recurrence of the industrial unrest reflects on the profit making capacity of the organizations. See, if there are a frequent recurrence of the industrial unrest reflects the profit making capacity of the organizations. In this case, financially weak companies, unrest causes threat to their very survival. Therefore, managers and the owners of all industries prefer the peace to safeguard their resources and interest. And another party is workers and their organizations. Workers and another important party to industrialization is the workers and their organizations, even though workers and trade unions are not devoted to the industrial relations, are not against the industrial peace. Workers associations play a dominant role in industrial relations. Workers associations are formed to protect the interest of the workers. The trade union will protect the interest of the workers, bringing the pressure on the management and as well as the government. It means in the level of the employees, whether the lower level of the employees, in the top level of the government, they don't know what is exactly the requirement of in an industry that should be. That the suggestion should be given by the trade unions to the in the what state government and as well as the top level management. In these ways, the workers and their government is also a parties of industrial relations. These are all the parties of industrial relations. Next, come to the point of why the industrial relations is become a poor. What are the reasons? It means here the conditions of colonial industrial relations. It's very difficult to establish and maintain a sound industrial relations. Whatever the what full strict conditions are to be implemented, they were creating a more conflicts between the employer and as well as the employee. Conditions very essential for the establishment and maintenance of a harmonious relationship for the relations. Number one, the existence of a strong, well-organized and democratic employees union. In that circumstances, the causes for the poor industrial relations. We can expect the sound industrial relations when there is a bargaining power of both the parties, not only the single side, not only the employers or the employee side. Workers and as well as the management both are equal in the organization. A strong trade union can protect the interest of the employee relating to the wages, whatever they are providing a benefit, health, wealth, and safety that should be provided. This is also one of the cause for the poor industrial relations. Existence of a sound and organized employers unions. When there is a association very helpful for the promotion and maintenance of uniform personal policies among the various organizations and to protect the interest of the weak employers. This is also a causes of poor industrial relations. Then spirit of collective bargaining and willingness to resort to voluntary arbitration. The relationship between the employee and the employer will be congenial only when the differences between there are settled through mutual negotiations and consultations rather than through the intervention of the third party. Collective bargaining is a process through Employees' issues are settled through mutual discussions and negotiation through the give and take approach. See, when the between the both the parties, employee and employers, where their disputes are arise, when the third party intervention, they were conciliated or negotiated. The collective bargaining is a pleasant place for the settlement of what disputes between the both the parties. These are all the causes for the poor industrial relations. Then next, again and again we were using the meaning of a dispute, industrial disputes. What it mean? We should know about this. The disputes is taken a place in our home itself. Why it is not happen in the case of industry? That is also taken a place. The industrial disputes legislation in India is not a very old. After the end of the World War, the disputes mainly related to the strife employee between the employer and their employees. According to the Industrial Dispute Act of 1947, this defines that, uh, according to 2K, defines that industrial dispute is any disputes or differences between the employer and employee, or between the employer and the workman, or between the workman and workman. Are you clear about this? From the employers, it means capitalist to capitalist, and workman, employers and the workman, and between the workman and workman, which connected to the employment, non-employment, or terms of employment, which conditions of labor or any others that disputes are arise. There are employers, employees, and as well as the workmans. Are clear about this? Then, what are the causes of industrial disputes? Before that, we should know about some history of industrial disputes. In India, the history of industrial disputes and its industrialization is a co-level. Both, that is, conflicts and industries arose simultaneously with the industrialization process. So many industries were taken a birth in our country. In that circumstances, both disputes and as well as industrialization is taken a place. As a result of industrialization, large industries complex came into being involved expenditure of crores of rupees and involved employment of a thousands of workers. Are you getting my point? It means the employers they are ready to invest crores together amount, and also they were providing employment opportunity to the each and every people. In the beginning of the supply of labor force for out. In the beginning, the supply of labor force for our stipulated its time demand due to easy and plentiful availability of. The force and the employers engage the workers on the terms and conditions of advantages to them. ಪ್ರವೀಣ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಬಂದ್ ಟೈಮಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಕೊತಾರೆ. The growth of trade union had its reflection on the industrial conflicts. When the trade union is taken a place of growth, the reflection on the that should be reflected in the favor what conflicts or disputes and tensions and various trade unions brought forward for the fact of conditions prevailing in the labor class before the employer and as well as the government. In these ways, the industrial disputes is taken a place in our country in the year of 1918 accordance with the enacted concerning the conditions of a working class, but at the time of independence, the conditions of a working class were miserable. Then we should know what are the reasons or causes of industrial disputes. This is most important thing. You may expect the questions in your examining part of you. Define industrial disputes. What are the causes of industrial disputes? You may expect the questions. There has always been contradiction between the interest of the employers and as well as the workers. The employer class has always adopted an indifferent attitude towards the workers. Yes, of course, as we know about this in current trend also that is going on, but on the basis of what the conditions or the rules and regulations are to be framed by the government that can be controlled. Their tendency has always been exploit the workers. That will not take any place in the case of a worker. It means when they are exploiting the workers, that should be reflected to the or creating disputes among the peoples, among the employer and as well as the employees. Lack of human behavior with the workers, lack of proper working conditions, low wages. This is also most important, and overlooking the interest of the workers are things not new for the employers. It is the constant endeavor of the employers to keep the lion's share of the profit with them. It means whatever the profits is earned by the industries or a company, that should be share like a distribution of what fruits in the home like this that were distributed. Here, the causes of industrial disputes can be divided into four major parts, that is, economic causes, managerial causes, political causes, and other causes. Economic causes, most of the industrial disputes are due to economic causes, directly or indirectly. Economic causes are the back of industrial disputes. Here, economic means what? That is related to financial benefits to an employees. That is creating a industrial disputes. Main economic causes are number one, low wages. See, in an each and every movement, essential commodities rate fluctuated. There is no matter of a fix, and also in that circumstances when they where their employer is providing a wages low wages, whatever they required as a laborers or an employee, whatever the minimum requirements they cannot fulfill. In that circumstances the disputes which taken place for the purpose of the demand for high wage rate is the most dominant cause leading to the industrial disputes. And dearness allowance, just I told you, in an each and every moment the whatever we need essential commodities, that rate will fluctuate in the day by day. In that circumstances, increasing of a cost of living is also one of the important thing. In order to neutralize, workers demand additional remuneration in the form of a dearness allowance. As we know about this, in the central government or state government, and also the industries are providing a dearness allowance for the raising of a price in an each and every year. That should be declared by the central government and as well as the state government. On the basis of this information, dearness allowance and a non-acceptable of this demand leads to industrial disputes when they were not raising of a DMS allowance. This is also one of the cause for the industrial disputes. Industrial profits. Workers are an important part of a production. Without the workers, there is no production. There is no production. There is no profit. Without the production, how they can expect the profit? Profits of the employees multiply because of the unitary labor of the workers. If they are showing a unitary or united for the producing of a goods and services, in that circumstances, the employers they can producing more and more, and also they get more and more profit when should not be treated as a part of the machine. They were treated as a workers in the olden days, the machines. Now they cannot see treated on this basis concept. The demand share out of the increasing profit. When this profit sharing demand is rejected by the employers, industrial disputes are crops up. They were rejected or distribution of a profits to among the employees. They were creating of disputes. It means it is also one of the cause. Then bonus. Demand for bonus is also a cause of industrial disputes. It means workers considers bonus as a deferred wages. They may expect it whether these 6 months or 1 year. Demand for the payment of bonus constitutes cause of the industrial disputes. Whether the employer they were getting a loss in a particular year, they don't have a capacity to pay the bonus. In that circumstances, the employees is also not asking any bonus. When they are earning a more profit, they have to. Then next come cause it is working conditions. Working conditions of the workers are not satisfactory. Obsolescence of the machines, lack of the safety provisions is not provided by the employers, inadequate light arrangements. As we know about this, under the Factories Act of 1948, this was again amended each and every year related to lightning of area. They are having their own what standards and less moving place, lack of other necessary facilities, whatever they required, requirement of a cleanliness, health, safety, and welfare. In that circumstances, they were creating of what disputes. It means they were demanding for the better working conditions on the part of workers, also contribute to the industrial disputes. Then working hours is also major role for the producing of a more production and also the maintaining of a good relationship. Hours of work is another matter of controversy between the employer and the workers. In the olden days, there is no matter of restriction of hours of work for the companies. This, in despite of the legislation to this effect, it is always the intention of the employers to keep the workers engaged for the long hours and low wages. See how it is affected. We can't predict, we can't accept it. This one, they need a more work and paying a less salary. It is opposite to tooth and nail by the workers. The results in this case, the industrial disputes is taken a place, and also the other causes is also taken a place. That is the safety of the workers. Under the Factories Act of 1948, and the safety of the workers, safety provisions should be made, whatever that should be provided by the employer, whether they're not the industry disputes will taken a place. And also modernization of machines, automated machines is also taken a place. Whether they are not providing of automated machines, that's creating a leads to industrial disputes. Pension at the time of the retirement of a person or a worker or an employee, they should providing a pension. And gratuity, whether they are not providing a gratuity provident fund and other beneficiary schemes, this leads to what industrial disputes. And medical and accommodation facilities, it means medical for the providing facilities for the medical expenditure. The ESI, employee state insurance, is taken a place when with the minimum standard salary slab. After that, they should providing of a what medical insurance by the employer or group insurance provided by the employer. Leaves and leaves with pay. You know that whatever the leaves, holidays should be provided to the each and every employee. Whether they are not providing leaves or holidays, this leads to disputes and leave with pay. Whether they are in the at the time of the leave, whether the employees working in the companies, in that circumstances they were not paying any salary for that. It means overtime salary. They were uh, creating a disputes. Share in a profit, just I told you, these are all the causes for the industrial disputes, the disputes. Then managerial causes, it means for each and every success of an organization or an industry, the management is the most important thing. Success of an organization depends largely on its managerial capacity. Growth of the organization based on the policies of the management is also a most important thing. Managerial causes of industrial disputes are non-recognition of unions. The employer's attitude towards the trade union has to be enthusiastic from the very beginning. They do not want to, laborers should organize themselves. It means they want to always divide and rule. It means they want to take a more, extracting the more work from the what employers in that circumstance. It leads to conflict between the employer and the workers in order to create a rift among the workers. They deliberately recognize the arrival of unions. Violation of agreements. This is also one of the cause, managerial cause. The employer and workers to enter into agreement to various issues. It means it's related to the employers do not enforce these agreements nor they strictly adhere to them. It is also accountable for the disputes related to salary or whether related to facilities or a bonus or a gratuity. In that circumstances, whether they are violating of that agreements, that should be leads to a what industrial disputes. The treatment by a managers and supervisors. Treatment by managers and supervisors. Managers and supervisors consider themselves to supervisor. If there is under influence of the superiority complex, they ill-treated the workers. The same is completely opposite by the trade unions. Just imagine, they are not superiors in an each and every moment. All are equal in the working place. We clear about this treatment by the managers and the supervisors. They were thinking as a superior persons. Don't think in the working place. Don't do that. This is also leads a what disputes, defective recruitment procedure and employee development policies. Defective recruitment system is also give a rise to the industrial disputes. Many a time, workers are recruited by the middleman who get a bribe from the them, from them. Just you know about this different agencies taken a place between the people. One who seekers of the job, employee, one who is provided by the employment, that is employer. Between that, one of the institution or one of the agencies taken a place for the providing a benefit. uh, in that circumstances, they take a undue advantage of the helpless of the workers. In front of mine, one of the incident is taken a place. Appointment of a securities. Uh, for the appointment of the securities, one of the middlemen is taken a place between the employer and as well as the employee. He is taken a bribe from the both the parties that leads to a the industrial disputes. Defective development policies like favorism in the promotions, that is also taken a place by the management, biased transfer, and a casual approach toward training facilities. In these ways leads to a industrial disputes. Then wrongful retrenchment, demotion, and termination. See, whatever they are taken a punishments, that should be in the form of disciplinary actions. It means that should be need a evidence. Without the evidence, whether they have any rift between the employer and the employee, they should not take any place of what wrongful retrenchment, demotion, and termination. It means sometimes on account of fall in the production, labors are retrenched. That is not a problem of the labors. Those workers who take an active part in the trade union activities are demoted. Sometimes employers terminated the services work without assigning any reason. That is not a what legality. That is not a fair for the employers. All these provocative acts of the employers are not only the strongly opposed by the trade unions, but also served as a good cause for the industrial disputes. Selfish leadership, it is also most important thing for the cause of industrial disputes. Lack of right and effective leadership, weakness the trade union and the employer class takes advantages of it in order to serve their selfish ends. These leaders enter into unholy alliance with the employers against the interest of the workers. Then violation of accepted code of conduct. Code of conduct refers to the terms accepted by the both the parties. Both the parties are required to abide it. Employers agree to all the codes on the paper but fail to carry them out in the practice. As a result, workers opposed it. Now, let's take an example for a live example. The code of conduct is for the conducting of what election that should be accepted by the publics. That should be framed by the election commission like this, where there is an opposition that leads to disputes in the both the parties, and collective bargaining and workers' participation in the management. It is also most important. Just I told you, labor class is seized with a new awakening and it's influenced by a new concept of management. Trade unions therefore insist on workers' participation in the management. By collective management, they try to protect their interests to maximum. The employees opposed it. That result is creating a industrial disputes. Then come to the point of the third one, that is a political cause. This is also one of the important thing nowadays. Political cause are no less significant than economic and managerial causes in accounting for the industrial disputes. Influence on a politics, influence of a politics in a country like India. Influence of a politics on the trade union is clearly visible. There is no matter of a hide and seek. Political parties have been using their influence to trade unions for their selfish ends. Whatever they want to take advantage from the trade unions, they can utilize or misused. Parties mislead the unions and instigate the industrial unrest. Trade union movement. Trade union movement got recognition. Industrial disputes have multiplied. Many trade unions take an undue advantage of their position, and this results into a industrial dispute. They were taken a place of what politics for the taken any what promotion or a position or any other things. In that circumstances, the industrial disputes is taken a place. Strike against the government. During the struggle for independence, labor class had taken leading part in it. Now this class directs its struggle against the government, thereby adding a fuel to the industrial disputes. And other causes is also taken a place, that is government inclination to support management. That will not. That is not a good habit. That is not a good things. And internal conflicts in the trade union among the employees, they were creating a disputes. What's the result? That they can't fight against the employers for getting their benefits from the employers, resistant to automations, and influence of a communist thinking on labors, effect of non-acceptable of a human relationships. In these ways, these are all the causes of industrial disputes. Then what are the consequences of industrial disputes? That is unrest, economic loss, hardship of workers, and threat to social security and public peace. You may expect the questions related to this. What are the causes of industrial disputes? Briefly, what are the causes of industrial disputes? You may expect the question. And next thing is, what are the methods of reducing the industrial conflicts or disputes? The industrial disputes occur all over the world. The eminent sociologists, psychologists, and economists all over the world have given a serious thought to this problem, had come out of some concrete suggestion to improve the industrial relations and reduce the conflict. It means so many people they were there given their own ideas or suggestions for reducing the industrial conflicts. Number one, growth of trade unionism. The workers face problems which the employers at least aware. The brokers subject to them humidification and exploit them in so many ways. This does not come to the notice of employers and authorities. Unless the workers are well organized, they cannot get their problems redressed. It is the three problems redressed. It is the task of our trade unions to keep on the watch of the workers and help them to get the workers and help them to get a redress of their grievances. That is the one of the method for the reducing of what industrial conflicts. Direct contact between workers and employers. Yes, of course. If any case, in any cases, whether the conversation between both the parties directly done in any circumstances, whether they take an example for this buying and selling of any goods and services, or whether they take an example for the sites, residential sites, or any other sites. If you want to purchase a site, if you are if you have any direct party, there is no any ambiguity, but there is a middleman that's creating a disputes for the purchasing of a sites or residential sites or any other things in these ways you can understood. Here also in the field of the industries, there is no direct contract between the employer and the workman. The employer is usually unaware of the problem faced by the employees. Therefore, the employers are considerate and sympathetic to the real problem faced by the workers, exploiting the lack of contract between the workers and the employer. And political parties and brokers exploit the workers to grid their acts. The best means of resolving this problem, establishment of a direct contact between the employer and as well as the employees. Then establishment of a conciliation boards. Conciliation board is the most important thing. Establishment of a conciliation boards. A modern method is a reducing of a industrial tension and conflicts is the establishment of a conciliation. It means persons nominated by the workers, employers, and the government constituted boards. Whenever there is some point of disputes between the workers and employers, matter referred of these boards, they try to solve the disputes. This is having a separate board for the counseling of both the parties. They can be reduced conflicts and the dispute. This is also one of the method. Establishment of a joint committees, it's another method for the what reducing of conflicts between the both the parties. Employer to resolve the disputes among the employers and the workers is to set up joint committee. It is consisting of representatives of the employers, workers, and public. These committee members meet from time to time, try to remove misunderstanding between the workers and as well as the employers. Joint committee. And such joint committee were established in the year of 1957. Now their number is above 450. There should be a method. There is one of the method that can be adopted, and establishment of a tripartite committee. Tripartite committee, it means composing of the labor experts, nominee of the employers and workers. The persons try to sort out amicably and serious misunderstandings which is cropped from time to time. There's an appropriate committee. Are you clear about this? Here, three parties are to be established: the labor experts beside nominee of the employers and the workers. Then labor code. As we know about this, if there is any disputes between the employer and employee, whether it's they were not solved within the jurisdictions or within the limits of the industry, when in that circumstance they can enter into a court matter, that is labor court. The disputes the workers and the laborers employees cannot be amicably resolved by any in the above mentioned committees or conciliation board. In all these complex issues, government has set up in the lower courts, decided issues according to law in Indian law. Chief labor courts in the Dhanbad in New Delhi, Dhanbad and also the Bombay. There is one industrial tribunal each. This is also one of the method labor court. Industrial truce. Industrial truce resolution just we were discussed in the year of 1952. Like this here also, the under emergency conditions, the government can declare industrial truce for a period, specific period. In this period, can be no strike or lockout or any other form of agitation in spite of the above mediators and conditions of worker is not satisfactory because of money and also the prestige of the employers are able to exploit the workers in a numerous way without attracting the provisions of the law. In spite of Compensation Act of 1923, the workers do not receive adequate compensation. There are apparently many improvement may taken employers, but in the fact of conditions remain more. These are all the different methods for the reducing of industrial disputes. Next, come to the point of measures to control industrial disputes. What are the different measures? The prevention of industrial disputes is a proactive approach in which an organization undertakes various actions through which the occurrences of a disputes is prevented. Like the old says goes, prevention is better than cure. That is most important. Whether to take an example for this gastritis for a person, whatever the gastritis items, they can't. If they are eating, they're creating a gastritis. They should take a what prevention activity. It means which food is not fit for what fit for the what gastritis that cannot that creating a gastritis that should be avoided in time to time. That is one of the precaution. Or when there is a red area, we should not try to go to that particular place. It means the red area. That is one of the precaution. In like this, prevention is better than the cure. After the whether they taken an example for the COVID itself, one who is taken a precaution about COVID diseases, they were prevented. One who is not taken a decision precautions in that circumstances, they are sufferer, and also so many cases it's become a death like this. Here also in the field of industrial disputes, they are having their own measures, that is model standing orders. Majority of the individual disputes are related to conditions of employment, related to employment conditions of work, hours of work, health, safety measures, or any others. To prevent this, standing orders are to be formulated. There is no matter of any what favorism to employee or employer. It was made obligatory that standing orders should govern the conditions of the employment under Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act of 1946. 46. The standing orders regulate the conditions of the employment from the stage of entry to the stage of exit. Very clear about this. So many conditions. This is also one of the measure to control the industrial disputes. where in the Industrial Dispute Act of 1947, every factory employing 100 or more workers required to frame the standing orders in consulting with the workers. Then second one, Code of Industrial Discipline, that defines duties and responsibilities of the employers and workers. The objectives of the code are to secure settlement of disputes by negotiation, conciliation, and voluntary arbitration. Whether it is possible to negotiate it, whether it's in a conciliated between the both the parties, that can be, and voluntary arbitration is also taken a place for the avoiding what disputes, and to eliminate all the forms of coercions and coercion, intimidation, and violence, to maintain a discipline in the industry itself, to avoid work stoppages, to promote a constructive cooperation between the management and as well as the employees. Next, control measure is works committee. Works committee greatly contributed in the prevention in the industrial disputes. Undertaking of employing more 100 or more workers is an obligation to set up a works committee consisting of an equal number of representatives of the employer and employees. According to Indian Labour Conference Works Committee Act, administration of a welfare and fine funds, educational and recreational activities, whatever the requirement of education, that should be, and recreation. At the time of getting a stress, the recreation activity should be taken a place in the industries. It means the conducting of a tours by the employer, and safety and accidents prevention, that is most important, the safety and as well as the accident. Occupational disease and productive equipment. Occupational diseases, whether they take an example for the cotton industries, whatever the dust or fumes inhaled by the employees, that's creating of a what diseases to each and every employees, that should be protective equipment. Conditions of work such as ventilation, it means, as we know about this, where there are industries is established, that should be required a good ventilation and lightning, and also controlling of a temperature. At the time of the summer season, they have to install the what air conditioner and sanitation, including latrinized urinals in each and every moment, that they were maintaining of a cleanliness. Amenities such as drinking water, just I do canteen, dining rooms, and medical and health services, and also daycare facilities is provided in the case of women workers. And another control is measure of to control the industrial relation is a joint management council. The government suggested in its Resolution 1956 to set up joint management council. It consists of a equal number of workers and employees, minimum 6 and maximum 12 decisions of the joint management councils allotted should be anonymous and should be implemented without any delay. Joint member council should be given proper training. Joint management council should looking after three main areas: information sharing, consultative, administrative. Management Council deals with the matters like employee welfare, apprenticeship scheme. What are the apprenticeship scheme is provided by an employer. This is also one of the measure. And joint council are set up for the whole unit and deals with the matters relating to the production efficiency and fixation of a productivity norms for man and the machines. Uh, in every industry is employing 500 or more workers should be joint council or unit. Functions of joint council. What are the functions of joint councils? We should know about this. Optimum use of raw materials and quality of finished products. that should be expected by the from the workers. Opti- Optimum production, efficiency, and function of productivity norms, man and machines as a whole. Preparation of schedules of working hours and holidays, adequate facilities for training, rewards for valuable creative suggestions received from the workers, and collective bargaining, and also the labor welfare officers, appropriate bodies. These are all the control measures to control the industrial disputes. Then machinery for the settlement of industrial disputes. What are the machineries? We were discussing conciliation. What's the meaning of conciliation? It's a type of state intervention in the settlement of industrial disputes. It means where the disputes are arise between the employee and employer, where there is a no what solution within their jurisdiction. It means within their factory premises or industry premises. In the circumstances, conciliation board is taken a place in the at the state government. The Industrial Disputes Act empowers the central and state to appoint conciliation officers and board of conciliations, and when the situations demands, conciliation refer to the process by the representing employees and as well as the employers are brought together before the third party to be were discussed. It means between the both the parties, the conciliation officer is taken a place. The appropriate government may notification in the official gazette appoint such a number of the person thinks fit to be a conciliation officer. The conciliation officer is having his own duties under the in industries under the Industrial Dispute Act of 1947. The to hold the conciliation proceedings with to arrive amicable settlement between the parties concerned, between the employer and as well as the employee, to investigate the disputes in order to bring about the settlement between the parties concerned, to send the report and memorandum of settlement of appropriate government. After the completion of conciliation, from the both the parties, they have to send a report to the government. To send a report to the government for starting a fourth step to taken in the case of no settlement has to be reached at. If they are not concerned between the both the parties in that circumstances, that should be entering into a court metal. Here, one of the machinery is conciliation. Next, second one is arbitration is also a machinery for settlement of industrial disputes. It's a process in which a neutral third party listens to the dispute parties, gathers information about the disputes, and then takes a decision which is binding on both the parties. It's a third party, and also certain advantages of this process is Z flexible in nature. It's based on mutual consent of the parties, therefore helping in the building healthy industrial relations. The arbitration is taken place, and adjudication. Adjudication means intervention of a legal authority appointed by the government to make a settlement of the disputes which is binding the both the parties. Adjudication means mandatory settlement of industrial disputes. It means the labor code. It means the tribunal for the purpose of adjudication. Under the Industrial Dispute Act provides the three-tier machinery, that is labor court, industrial tribunal, and as well as the national tribunal. These are all the three different adjudication is taken a place for the settlement of industrial disputes. Then forms of industrial disputes. How they form the industrial disputes? That is, industrial disputes may take any form like a strike, lockouts, gear outs, burn, and other kinds. It may be violent at the times leading to a life loss of life and property. It disturbs the public life also. There are the losses of man hours and the production which enterprises as no suffer. We should know about this. The forms of industrial disputes. Number one, strike. Strike means It's a non-acceptable of employees, acceptance of employees, demand leading them to stop the work and proceeding on a strike. Strike is the last important weapon with the employee, which is used when all the hope. It means whatever the requirements of the employees, whether the employer is not provided in that circumstances, last weapon used by the employees, that is a strike for the demanding of their demands. It can continue for any number of days. It is a complete session of a work by the employees. Strike can be classified, can be following types. That is economic strike. Economic strike is undertaken members of trade union for fulfillment of economic demands. As I said, as I told you, that is related to the purely finance. It means money, wages, bonus, and other facilities like health, education, and food, and any others. Then general strike. General strike is one which is undertaken by all the employees belonging to the all the unions in religions in the entire country. General strike is resorted by the employees for the fulfillment of common demands. Each and every employees, they are having their own common demand. It means hiking a salary. In that circumstances, the general strike is taken place. Sympathetic strike. Here, strike undertaken by the members of the trade union for the supporting for demand for the striking the employees and other unions. This is undertaken the express sympathy within the striking employees and the trade union. The sympathy strike is extended further. It can take the general strike, it also known as a token strike. Then sit down strike. It means when the employees stop working but do not leave the place of work, they sit and play at the place of work. This form of strike is also known as a pen down or tools down strike. They don't want to do the work in the working place. They want to conducting a strike. That is also treated as a what? Pen down or tools down strike. Go slow strike. It means if the employees do not stop the work but do not work with enthusiasm, the speed of their work is very slow. Here, one side they are working, another side they are not completed the work, which is result is low output they are doing. This is an organized way. This puts employers under pressure, which is object of strike. Then another strike is sick out or sick in. All are insignificant number of number of union members call in sick on the same day. They have not broken any rules because they just use a sick leave for the allotment. However, the sudden loss so many employees all on one day can show the employee just what it should be like. They really went to strike. That is sick out. Wild, uh, wildcat striker. Wildcat striker. A wildcat strike action. It is a strike action undertaken by the unionized workers without union leadership authorization, support of any unions, in sometimes termination and unofficial industrial actions. These are all the different forms of strike. Define disputes. What are the different forms of the industrial disputes? You may expect the question. Then the second one, Gehraus. Gerau. Gerau means surround the number of unions surrounded the chief executive and do not allow him to leave the place where he is surrounded are Geraus. As we know about this, whether it is also happened in the case of a politicians or any others. Usually, this place is in his official office. They create a human chain around the restricting him to removed from that particular place. Gera was very common means of protest. Any group can do anything if this are dissatisfied. It takes a violent turn. Human barricade is created in the form of ring a circle at the center which the person is concerned visually. Gerav have been criticized legally and morally. Then third weapon is lockout. Forms of a in the industrial dispute is lockout. Lockout is declared by the employers to put a pressure on their workers. It's an act for the employers to close down the work until the workers agree to resume the work on the terms and conditions specified by the employers. Between the employee and employers, they whatever they are fixing the conditions that should be acceptable. That should be acceptable by the both the people. Whether they are not acceptable, they may create by the what employers lockdown. The Industrial Dispute Act of 1947, the lockout is as closing of a particular place of employment and the suspension of a work, refusal by the by an employer to continue employ a number of persons employed by him. And lockouts are declared CRUB and activities militant workers generally lockouts is declared 25 a trial and strength between the management and its employers. Then picketing. Picketing is a method resorting by the employees to attract the attention of the common men to the fact that there is an existing dispute between the management and as well as the employees. Picketing is a dissuading and employees from the reporting to work by someone at the gate of the place of work. Picketing is a legally activity to exhibit protest. It is not a violent activity. Then boycott. As we know about this in the what working place, the workers may boycott use a company product. They may request the general public to do also. They adversely affect the sale of company's product. To get rigid and ill efforts may think acceptance of a demand of the employees. These are all the what strikes. Uh, the strike are divided into two, that is primary strikes and as well as the secondary strikes. Primary strikes are the result of the more fundamental maladjustments, injustices, economic disturbances. Primary strikes are generally against the employee with whom the disputes exist. They take the form of stay away strike, sit in, sit down, pen down, tools down, and mouth shut strikes, go slow, work to rule, token or protect strike, lightning, a wild cat strike, picketing or boycott. These are all the primary strikes. Forms of a primary strike. Stay away strike. In this strike, workmen stay away from the workplace. They organize rallies, demonstration, and any other forums. Stay in strike and sit down strike. In this strike, workmen come to the place. They are not doing the work in the working place. Tools down or pen down and mouth shut strike. The workers are coming to the working place. In the working place, there are tools in the case of factories, lay down the pens in the case of office workers, shut down their mouth in the case of teachers. That should be taken a place. Token or protest strike. It is a very short duration and is in the nature of a signals for the danger ahead. In this strike, workers do not work for an hour or a day. Lightning to or wildcat strike. In this strike, strikes work without any prior notice or a shortest notice. That is a wildcat strike. Go slow. In this strike, the workers came into a working intentionally. They are reducing the speed of work. It means producing of less products then workers to rule or workers to designation. In this strike, workers undertake the work according to rules and job descriptions. Picketing. Position pickets in the place machinery and patrolling of the workmen in front of the premises of the employers. Boycott. Disrupting of a normal functioning of the enterprises. And gear house. And Gerav, it's a physical blockade of the target, either the encirclement intent to block the regret and ingress from and to a particular office, workshop, and any other places. Hunger strike. This is also one of the important strike under the primary strike. This type of the strike is resorted to either by the leader of the union or by some other workers, all at the time or in small batches for a limited period or up to the period of settlement of disputes. Then secondary strike. What's the meaning of secondary strikes? Against the third party. These strikes are sympathetic strikes. Then other strikes may taken a place. The strikes are in the form of a general, particular, political, and bands. These are all the different types of strikes. Then strike will taken a place. Prevention is better than cure. We heard about the one of the slogan like this here also. Prevention method should be followed for the strikes. That is, the following suggestions may be proved suitable of the prevent strikes. It means it should adopt a well defined, precise, clear, and progressive personal policies aiming at the maintenance of good industrial relations in the undertaking. It should be ensure an effective administration. It is also most important. Timely implemented these policies, whatever the policies are to be framed, and it should adopt a fair and reasonable recruitment, promotion, and wage policy to ensure their proper implementation. This is also it should be ensure effective two-way system communication, both employer and employee, both where they are maintaining of a good communication, where there is no any what disputes in that circumstances. This will help the management to create a favorable atmosphere of goodwill and faith in the organizations and understand the human climate threat. It should provide just humane conditions of the work along with the suitable welfare activities of the benefits. It is also one of the preventive measure. It should uh, it should evolve, adopt a suitable and speedy grievance handling procedure, redressal of the grievance of the workers. That is also most important thing for the avoiding or prevention of the strike. It should be encouraging a joint consultation at the different levels, encouraging collective bargaining for resolving the difference between them. Then come to the point of lockouts. Lockout is an ordinarily lockout means action of an employer is temporarily closing down or shutting down his undertaking, refusing to provide his employees with work with the intention of forcing their either accept demands made by him or withdraw demands made by them on him. And from the both the parties, they were created the lockouts. In the Industrial Dispute Act of 1947 says lockout means closing of a place of business, employment of a suspension of work, and refusal by the employer to continue the employ a number of persons employed by him. Then this is the lockout and grievance handling lockout. Let's come to the point of grievance handling discipline. Just I told you grievance handling what it means. It means the grievance handling is a sign of employees' discontent with the job and its nature. Here, harmonious industrial relations, therefore, the grievance handling, it means that should be required in an each and every industry's grievance handling. Uh, Grievance is a sign of an employee. It means with the job its nature. The employee got certain aspirations and expectations we think must be fulfilled by the organization where there he is working. When the organization fails to satisfy the employee needs, he develops the feeling discontent and dissatisfaction. In that circumstances, they need a grievance handling. The grievance handling, this is having its own definitions. According to some experts, they defines that grievance is any discontent. According to James Justice, Justice defines that a grievance is any discontent or dissatisfaction between both the parties, uh, whether they express it or not, whether they valid or not, arising out of any connection connected with the company, which an employee thinks, believes, or even feels to unfair, unjust, and inequitable. That is that defines by the according to J.M. Justice. According to Edward Filippo, it is a type of discontent which must always be expressed. A grievance is usually more formal character than a complaint. It can be valid or ridiculous and must grow out for the something connected with the company operated policies. Whether to take an example for this, one of the most common example that is workplace grievance is sanitation and cleanliness. Employees often complain eating the areas of bathrooms not being cleaned properly after the use. This is an example of a grievance. Or another example is where the employees has claimed a cab reimbursement, but is not reimbursed accurately or timely. In that circumstances, grievances. Whether to take an example for university, grievance redressal cell for students is available in our university, Karnataka State Open University, for the providing of benefits. It means whatever the problems is faced by the students, whether it's related to admission, whether it's related to examination, whether it's related to any problem faced by the students, that can be resolved solved by the grievance cell. Like this here also in the field of companies or an industries have taken a place. Causes for employees grievances. Following are the causes for employee grievances. That is number one, economic. This usually concerns employee wages, and when they feel like they are being paid less than others they band or grade, when they receive inaccurate salary. For other examples could be delayed payment of a bonus, arrears, hikes, and any other things. This is the causes for the employee grievances. Work environment. Physical environment is most important thing for doing a work, conducting of work smoothly, like too much heat or cold, cramped, limited workspace, low lighting, bad quality equipment, faulty appliances, and conditions of all constitute work. In that circumstances, work environment is also a cause for the employee grievances. Supervisory. Managers and other top management professionals can also cause grievance to employees. Bias performing rating, butting, subtle insulation, harassment of any sort, all constitute super related to grievances. Then come to the point of employee relations. Relations is also cause of the employee grievances. When whom to call as a colleagues who work together not get well, have issues working together on a project, get into many conflicts, other relation issues, that they're creating a the grievances, cause of a grievances. Organizational change. Sometimes there are some policy changes, actual shifting for workplaces. Employees may find themselves unaligned to changes that can be cause of a grievance too. These are all the causes of employee grievances. Then effects of a grievances. The following of the effects of a grievances: decline in the productivity. It means less productivity, conflicts, disagreements, and dissatisfaction. The disputes. strikes, lockouts in extreme conditions. Whatever we have different types of strikes that should be taken into gheravs, and poor performance due to lack of interest of the workers, and increasing in absenteeism, and wastage of resources, unnecessarily they were wasting of resources, and increasing in a production cost, increasing in a resignation of employees. These are all the effects of what are consequences of grievances. Then come to the point of industrial discipline. Industrial discipline, it means, as we know about this discipline, we should maintaining a discipline for the purpose of what? For the purpose of smooth running of each and everything in our home itself. Are clear about this? Without the discipline, we can't maintaining of any we can't maintaining of any functions in a home itself. When we are get up in the early morning, we should maintaining a